Hi, my name's Rebecca and welcome back to my channel. If you are returning to my channel, thank you and welcome back. If this is your first time joining me, I hope you will subscribe and I will see you again. So I'm starting this video from my very messy craft room right now because the theme to this video is a beginner's guide to crafting. So if you're thinking, I'm not a beginner, I've been crafting for a long time, this video may not have too many tips for you. Don't fret because I have some great DIY videos coming out later in the week. So I hope you will still subscribe, stick around and watch those videos. But if you are new to crafting, if you've recently watched your first YouTube videos, you're getting excited about the whole idea, or you simply have purchased some things and maybe want to get started, but yet you really don't know what all do I need? Where do I begin? I've watched 20 videos and they all use these different things. I don't know where to get started and you're a little bit overwhelmed. I'm hoping to take some of that away from you. I'm hoping that I can ease some of those feelings of being overwhelmed with what I'm about to give you today. And I hope it'll be useful, hope it'll be helpful, and I hope it will help many people get on their way to crafting. So let's get started. Where do I begin? Well, we are going to begin with where to shop first. I do the majority of my shopping at the Dollar Tree. You can't get better than a dollar. Then I go to Dollar General, where you can still get some things at a very decent price. My third place would be Walmart. Frankly, there's only a couple things I usually get from there. And then the Hobby Lobby. I didn't make it in time to get any footage for this video. Now, let's get started on what you are going to need. Probably one of the number one things you're going to need is some paint. I actually started with this apple barrel paint that I picked up from Walmart. That was the very first paint I ever started with. I got this little pack right here that came in a variety of colors, and honestly, it is a great way to start. So I started, like I said, with that pack of apple barrel paints. And it's good to have some acrylic paints on hand because you can get them in many colors. And for most crafts, they work just fine. A lot of times for your base coat, especially if you're going to be using the backs of some Dollar Tree signs or some of the Dollar Tree products, you don't necessarily get that good of coverage, or you have to give it 3 or 4 coats, to where on the chalk paint, you don't. Now, I know I mentioned Waverly a lot. You don't have to use Waverly. It's the brand that I use. I can get it at Walmart. It's convenient because I don't have too many stores in my town, but you don't have to necessarily get that brand. But that's the coverage is the biggest thing that you're going to have between the acrylic paints and the chalk paints. I would also recommend starting with the very basics, maybe a white and a black in the chalk paint, because it can be more costly. So don't go spend too much money to get started. And Dollar Tree does have paints, y'all, and they're not that bad. They just typically require more coats. And you can't paint without paint brushes. So you would definitely need to pick up some paint brushes, and I would recommend a pack of these sponge brushes as well. They come in handy later on down the road. And then Dollar Tree has these adorable little paint trays. I think that's what you call them. I love them. They give you an easy spot to put your paint when you're painting. Dollar General has one for $1 as well, and it's actually bigger. Not necessary, but I like to have them. And then I most definitely recommend and say that you get a hot glue gun. I'm not really sure how anybody can craft without a hot glue gun. It really is kind of a requirement. You can get them at the Dollar General, never have seen them at the Dollar Tree, or you could get it at Walmart. So obviously it would be a little hard to do much crafting without a hot glue gun. Almost, at least, if not every craft that I do, because no, not every craft requires a hot glue gun, but at least every other, if not actually a higher percentage than that. So you're going to see multiple types out there. You're going to see some that have larger nozzles like this, and it allows a lot more of the hot glue to come out. And then you're going to have the ones that are much smaller. I have one, but it's upstairs. And it allows much less to come out of the hot glue gun. I don't think you need to get both to start. That's really kind of unnecessary. But just have one. And if I was to recommend, if you don't have one at all, and I was to recommend one to at least get started, I would personally start with the small. That way you can always add extra glue. You can always do 2 lines on something that's a big project. But sometimes these larger nozzles actually put out a lot, and it can be a little complicated if you're working with a really small project, something that you don't want too much to come out on. So definitely get yourself a hot glue gun if you don't have one. They're only between $5 and $10 at the Dollar General. You don't have to go get a fancy one. Start off small. You're going to see a lot of fancy ones out there recommended on Amazon. You don't have to go that extreme to get started. Just get you one that's affordable and get crafting. Some of these I'm going to be pretty short and sweet on because they're self-explanatory. You're going to need wood glue, y'all. I promise you, you will need wood glue at some point. I recommend getting some E6000 for things that you really want to have a strong permanent hold more than even what hot glue would provide. And then definitely Mod Podge. Mod Podge is in all crafters' stockpiles. Get yourself at least one little bottle from the Dollar Tree. Then you're going to need a pair of scissors. Don't use those fabric scissors. Get yourself a pair of crafting scissors. You are also going to need some type of cutting tool, either a box cutter, an X-Acto knife, whatever one you have on hand if you already have one, or go get you one, but you will need something to cut. And then the next one isn't necessarily something that you have to have, but these are just very convenient when the time is right, especially if you are going to be cutting any fabric. Then definitely get yourself some sort of wire cutter. You are going to definitely need something to help you cut the wire to flowers and floral and things of that nature. And then a ruler is self-explanatory, but trust me, you're going to need a ruler at some point in your crafting journey. And then a Sharpie, as simple as that sounds, try to always make sure you have a Sharpie or black marker, a paint marker, something like that on hand. You'd be surprised at how often you're going to use it. And yes, a blow dryer. You will want a blow dryer on hand for those times you need something to dry quickly. Trust me, it happens. You are also going to want some spackling, some wood fillers, something like that. You can pick that up at the Dollar Tree, so don't spend a lot of money on it, but you will need it on hand. And to go with that, you're going to need some sandpaper. Well, you're going to need sandpaper whether you use it on that anyways. You will need sandpaper, so I usually try to have quite a bit on hand. And you can get a lot of this stuff, any of your hardware stuff, tools, you can get all of this stuff at the Dollar Tree, y'all. It does not have to cost a lot of money to start crafting. I mean, you can even get tools. You can get a little handsaw. You can get so many things at the Dollar Tree. So seriously, if there's any small tools or anything you need that I've mentioned in this video, go to the Dollar Tree and see what they have first before you go spend a lot of money on any other store. Just to show you a few things that I have picked up from there, some that you saw in the video that it wouldn't hurt to have on hand. Like I got this from the Dollar Tree. I will say it don't do very thick items, but I've used it on small dowels and things of that nature. You know, I have some little screwdrivers and things like that I keep in my crafting room that I don't have to go to the garage and get ours out there. Y'all, I got this from the Dollar Tree. And this is great for making sure you're keeping your line straight and getting things level or at a correct angle. You do have the ruler to make sure you get your line straight, but there are some times where this comes in handy. So, and you know, you can't be only paying $1 for some of these things. Are those things something you're going to use every day? Maybe not. The ruler, definitely I use quite a bit. So if you can't, you know, get one of these, at least, you know, try to definitely make sure you pick up a ruler. Maybe pick up a level. You know, if you can't pick up one of these, pick up a level. If you can't get the level, maybe get one of these. So the last half of this video is going to be some items that I recommend that I wouldn't consider tools, but are items that are used a lot. They're items that you are most likely going to come across that you're going to need in a craft or a DIY, especially if you're watching YouTube and getting some ideas from a lot of the crafters on here. And they're ones that I've used a lot of and I use along the way. So if you're not going to use it here in this first week, they're items that it wouldn't hurt to have in your stash, because you're going to need it at some point and you'll end up using them. So here they are.
I use this jute probably on a daily basis or close to every day, along with the nautical rope that you can pick up at the Dollar Tree. I use this very often in many of my crafts. And then you're definitely going to need your good old-fashioned craft sticks or popsicle sticks, whatever you want to call them. You'll use those quite a bit. And then the Dollar Tree has these Jenga blocks that you can use in a lot of creative ways, and for a lot of different projects. So definitely have those on hand. You'll be amazed at how often you're going to use them. I have made complete projects out of those Jenga blocks. And then stickers. You're going to want to have some stickers on hand. You can use those for so many projects, so many things, y'all. And then these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree are amazing. They are unbelievable. And if you can pick as many up as possible, I would recommend them. You will use them a lot. And then some burlap. I always recommend having some burlap on hand, because I was even amazed at just how often I used that. And then go pick out some ribbon that you think you will like to use a lot. I started off with a medium size and a small size. Those were the first ones I ever purchased and had on hand, and used them quite a bit. And it was definitely a good start to some earlier crafts. Lastly, pick yourself up a canvas from the Dollar Tree, or 2 or 3. I promise you, you are going to use more than that.
Okay, so actually this is the lastly. The one last thing I would recommend picking up and having on hand, because I find that I always need it, you don't want to have to rush to the store at the last second to need it, is floral. You are going to need floral, I promise you. And sometimes it can be hard to find. I do end up getting it more at Walmart than anywhere, and they don't always keep a lot of this in stock. And you will use it on so many things. So I just like to keep it on hand. I like to have it. That way I don't ever have to worry about being in the middle of a craft and then I don't have that on hand, because that's something you're going to use. I promise you, you are going to need floral in more than one project, in many of your projects along the way. You're going to need yourself some floral. So please get you some. So that's all I have for my beginner's guide to crafting. I hope I was helpful. I hope you'll be able to take something away from this, and it will encourage you to get started. Don't worry about having a fancy craft room. I started in a hotel room when we were living there after a house fire less than a year ago. I was literally doing it in the little couch area on the floor in a hotel to save my sanity. If I can start there with just a handful of items, you can just go grab a handful of items and get started in your home. Sit there and do it on your couch, on your living room floor, and craft something that you'll be able to enjoy in your home or give as a gift, and somebody else can enjoy for a long time to come. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have already subscribed to my channel. If not, I hope you will do it now. I hope you'll hit that bell so that way you'll be notified when I post any new videos. On Wednesdays, I have my Wellness Wednesdays. This Friday is my very first Friday where I do a wine tasting. And then every Friday I have a DIY video that comes out. I'm finishing up some Halloween and then moving right on into my fall decorations. So you're not going to want to miss some of the really awesome things to come. Hope you'll stick around, and I hope I will see you again. Give it a thumbs up. That will definitely help my channel move up here on YouTube. Thanks so much, friends. Bye.